I mean, for instance, Secretary Hegseth today suggested that this was in part a revenge mission because of Iran's failed attempt to assassinate President Trump 2 years ago. Then there's the absurd justification that a combat unit commander reportedly told his officers that this was biblically sanctioned and signals the rapid approach of Armageddon. Points for creativity there on that one, I suppose. But of all of the explanations we got, I think the one that is perhaps the least satisfying, and there's a lot of competition for that, and perhaps maybe the most accurate, was this one from Trump himself.
You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that.
Another critical voice came from Representative Jim McGovern.
This whole thing is just so transparently built on lies. Republicans went from imminent threat to regime change to nukes back to imminent threat in the last 24 hours. I'll tell you what this is, Mr. Speaker. This is Iraq 2.0. I still remember the lies about WMDs. I voted against that war too. At least George Bush had the decency to lie to people's face. And by the way, no congressional vote can legitimize this because there was no imminent threat. There was no UN Security Council resolution. So this war is illegal no matter what you want to call it. And it's not Donald Trump's kids that will have to go fight and die for their draft-dodging dad.
Some Republican Party lawmakers have also expressed concern about the legality of the war. Representative Thomas Massie pointed out a basic principle of American law. A president cannot unilaterally take the country into war unless certain conditions are met. Under the War Powers Resolution, the president can deploy the military in only 3 situations. Congress declares war, Congress authorizes it through a specific law, or the United States is directly attacked. Massie said that in the case of Iran, none of these conditions exist. Iran has not attacked the United States. Congress has not declared war, and there is no law authorizing this military campaign. That led him to raise a simple but powerful question. If these legal conditions are not met, is this war constitutional? Meanwhile, in the Senate, lawmakers attempted to respond using a tool that is rarely invoked, a War Powers Resolution aimed at limiting the president's authority to wage war. The goal of this resolution was to force the administration to halt military operations against Iran unless there was clear approval from Congress. But the vote showed just how deeply divided Washington has become. The resolution failed with 47 votes in favor and 53 against. What was striking is that the division did not fall strictly along party lines, but also occurred within each party. Republican Party Senator Rand Paul voted with Democrats to support the resolution. While politicians argue over the legality of the war, another question is also being raised. Does the Trump administration actually have a clear strategic plan? Senator Mark Kelly believes the answer may be no. He said that so far the administration has not presented any long-term strategy for the conflict.
Our government is doing right now with this. They don't have a goal, there's no strategic plan, there's no timeline, and what this is likely to lead to is, again, a long war with a lot of dead Americans and no rationale for how this is helping the American people.
As the debate about the legality of the war spreads across Washington, another issue has begun to appear in congressional discussions. Cost. Modern warfare is not measured only by bombs or battlefield maps. It is also measured in budgets, in the enormous sums of money that governments must spend to sustain prolonged military operations. And according to many lawmakers, the United States may be at risk of repeating a familiar pattern, entering a new war without truly knowing how long it will last or how expensive it will become. Early reports in Congress suggest that the administration Biden is preparing to request a new military funding package that could reach tens of billions of dollars to finance operations against Iran. This immediately sparked opposition from some lawmakers who argue that Washington continues to prioritize war while Americans face serious economic challenges at home. During debates in the House of Representatives, several lawmakers raised a blunt question. Why is the United States ready to spend billions on another war while housing costs, healthcare expenses, and everyday living costs are rising for millions of Americans? But financial concerns are only part of a much larger picture. What worries many lawmakers even more is the possibility that this war could last for years. Recent American history in the Middle East has shown a familiar pattern. Wars often begin with promises that they will be quick and limited, but reality is often very different. The war in Afghanistan lasted 2 decades. The Iraq War dragged on for years with enormous costs in both money and lives. For that reason, some lawmakers warn that a war with Iran could become another version of those prolonged conflicts. Senator Mark Kelly said clearly in an interview that he does not see any clear strategy from the administration about how this war would end. According to Kelly, the most troubling issue is that the administration began military action before presenting a long-term strategic plan. He warned that once the United States enters a war with a large and influential country like Iran, withdrawing becomes extremely difficult. At the same time, some political observers have begun to question the true objective of this campaign. In the early days of the attacks, Donald Trump said that the Iranian people should rise up against their government. That statement led many to believe that Washington might be trying to push for regime change in Tehran. But soon afterward, defense officials said the campaign was not intended to pursue regime change. This contradiction has only added to the confusion among lawmakers. If regime change is not the objective, then what exactly is the objective? And if the real goal is regime change, what is the plan for Iran after the current government collapses? While political debates continue, reality on the battlefield keeps changing day by day. Airstrikes continue, additional military forces are being deployed, and regional tensions are rising. With every passing day, the initial decision by the Trump administration becomes harder to reverse. Once war begins, history shows that stopping is often far more difficult than starting. And that may be the biggest question Washington faces right now. It is not only a question about Iran or about military strategy, it is a question about how the United States decides to go to war. Can a president unilaterally take the country into a major conflict without the approval of Congress? Are contradictory and unclear explanations enough to justify a decision that could reshape the fate of an entire region? For now, those questions remain unanswered, but one thing is certain, this debate will not end anytime soon, because behind the war with Iran lies more than geopolitics. It is also a profound argument about power, responsibility, and how American democracy makes its most consequential decisions, war and peace.